I have honestly been so excited and hyped up to be able to read this chapter of One Punch Man, and I just finished the chapter, and just want to not beat around the bush. 10 out of 10 chapter. Like, it is such a good chapter. The artwork, everything, story progression, it's so good. And I want to talk about this in a second. But for the past few weeks of One Punch Man, honestly, for a long time now, One Punch Man has just been on a roller coaster of just quality chapter after quality chapter. And I mean, the last chapter, as we all know, was something that blew up in terms of the community because it was insane. Like, Garou, he kills, from what we can assume, Genos. And it's a really big moment. And what happens after this image, this scene within the last chapter that came out, was impactful because, obviously, Saitama's reaction, the emotion on his face of just realizing that, he failed his friend. His friend basically died in front of him. All this strength pretty much for nothing. And, just his overall reaction to this is insane. Like, he's serious, he's angry, and we never really seen Saitama in this type of emotion. It's incredible. It's a really good moment for his character to really develop because we've never seen him actually like this. And so, obviously, ever since this chapter came out, myself and many others have been awaiting this chapter right here to come out. And so, like I said, I just finished reading it. I feel like many of you already out there probably have already read this chapter. But I really want to talk about this, analyze this, and just explain what's going on here and just how ridiculous this is overall. So for one, the opening page right here, you can see Saitama and, Garou. You see literally they're near Jupiter. They're on Jupiter's moons, and they're literally fighting in the middle of space. It is like a Dragon Ball Z level fight. Like, we haven't seen something to this level of extreme, and this goes beyond that since the Boros versus Saitama fight. That's just how long it's been since we've really seen a fight of this magnitude. That is how massive of a fight this actually is. Now, there is a lot about this chapter that's crazy. For one, Blast basically trying everything in his power to move Saitama, to move Garou, and get them out of the vicinity of Earth to stop causing devastation around the planet. Because obviously, these two fists just hitting each other, it's not good. I mean, we've already seen the nuclear explosions and impacts from the previous chapter. We know for a fact that if they were to continuously fight, it would kill the entire planet. There's already just so much damage already done. Who's to say the planet already isn't finished? There might have to be a time reset. Who really knows? But the point is, Blast being able to do what he's been doing in these past few chapters is something that needs to be noted. And I think that not a lot of people are probably giving him credit because, once again, everybody's eyes right now is just on the Saitama versus Garou fight. Like, everything about this, like, just seeing everything going on here, your eyes and attention is going to be focused on this. That's exactly what's going to happen. So you're not going to be focusing on, what Blast is doing and all that behind the scenes here because it's a very brief part of the chapter. But once again, to be able to move these two characters, to be able to put them somewhere else, to be able to even hold back the scale and power of these individuals says a lot. It really says a lot about his character and that he really is the number one hero for a major reason, a solid reason. He isn't just there for show, and I appreciate that. I just love the way this is being showcased with Blast as a character being able to even do that. So just shout outs to Blast as a character because I feel like there's just so much more to him that we don't even know. I mean, who knows? He might even be able to fight someone like Garou properly if he really had to focus in it and have to worry about the planet. Because I want to point something out. Blast isn't really injured. Like, he was, like, holding off Garou in the previous chapters, and he isn't really injured at all. That really speaks a lot about his character. And Garou is literally fighting Saitama pretty much serious at this point. So it says a lot to even be able to say that Blast didn't suffer really any injuries, and he was dealing with a handicap of trying to hold back the Blast from destroying the planet. That's all I'm saying. But okay, let's talk about the fight. So, for one, actually, no. Before I go for that, I want to talk about this scene in the back. That's Boros. That's 100% Boros in the background there behind Blast. I just want to point that out. That's legitimately Boros, and it makes me wonder what's fully going on here just because of just that behind the scenes, but we'll find out more as, the chapters come out. But anyways, okay, now let's talk about, the Saitama versus, Garou fight. So, this right here, as you can see them kind of being shot off into Jupiter's moon, you see this crater on the planet, the dark side of the moon, and I want to make sure everybody focuses in on this image very closely. I can't actually zoom in here, but basically, if you look closely here, it looks like a crater, obviously, but look very closely in the middle of it. That doesn't look like a normal formation in a crater. It looks like something's within the planet. And if you look even deeper, that looks like a spine and bones. That looks like a rib cage on the back. Like if someone was fetal position, leaned over. That's what that looks like. And the only thing that comes to mind when I see that image is the image that we saw of that dark, shadowy figure that was like 20, 30 chapters ago. If you remember it was when we were finding out more about Blast and the whole concept of, like, God within the One Punch Man universe. I think that's the being. I think that's the being right there because just the way the image looks. I could be wrong, but I just wanted to point that out. Maybe I'm misremembering something. Maybe there's something that I'm missing that was from a previous chapter. If I am, correct me if I am wrong, but I wanted to point that out. So, yeah, I really like this segment, by the way, showcasing that the stars are basically eradicated, because there is different sections within our universe today, like in real life, where if you were to look in space and point your telescope, if you had a telescope, you'd be able to actually see certain pockets within space that's basically a void, darkness, lacking light. And it's very scary because, once again, when you look up in the sky, there is stars like this, and when you see a pocket, a massive void like that, it basically says something obviously happened. What killed those stars? Why is there no stars in that vicinity? There must have either been a supernova, must have been a black hole, something happened, obviously. And seeing this, the impact, basically, of the two characters' overall attack causing that, just shows the magnitude of their strength to be capable of something like this. It's insane. It's on a galactic scale at this point. So they land on the moon, and I think this is a very fitting place for them to battle for a few reasons. Like I've already said, I think that this allows Saitama to go all in without having to worry about destroying the planet, but also we get to just see the overall new level of feats from Garou and Saitama himself. Because yes, we've seen Saitama jump to the moon, we have seen Saitama be able to fight someone like Boros, and, be able to withstand the power of a black hole, basically. He's powerful, yes, we know his feats are ridiculous, but to see this man on the surface of a Jupiter moon and being able to fight like he is right now, it basically shows once again that Saitama is above and beyond anything that we have ever seen from any other character. The man is literally not really having to worry about breathing in space and all that, and this image alone is fantastic. I think this is a good tone setter, because once again, the eye of the storm of the planet, seeing Saitama basically in the middle of it, and then you see Garou at the bottom of the peak looking up at Saitama. The symbolism and message from this is just beautiful, because for one, Garou is obviously, he's looking like he's a god, like he's a monster. He is legitimately a strong entity, probably the strongest entity we have seen ever from One Punch Man to this point. And the point is that him being in this position, standing down and looking up at Saitama, says just how monstrous of a foe Saitama is when he really gets serious. You cannot hope to climb on top of this pillar, this tower that he is. And that just says so much about this moment, the intimidation factor that Garou is feeling from Saitama, despite being this high of a level as a being at this point. I love this image. It really is a great tone setter, and it also is kind of like the reversal of the typical shonen archetype, basically, where you have this powerful villain, like, just a good example of this is thinking of Madara from Naruto, or thinking of Aizen from Bleach, or thinking of just, like, let's say, Whitebeard or Kaido from, One Piece or whatever, these characters that are immensely powerful, and then when a character tries to stand up to them, they're just looking at this monstrous force that they can not even come near at that point in time of the story. And I like how, Garou in this point is being showcased as maybe an MC-like character, at least to his position, looking up at maybe his villain, his nemesis. Because remember, in Garou's mind, yes, he is the villain, yes, he is the monster, etc., but you're technically the main character of your own story. In his eyes, he's the main character, and the villain, his villain in his eyes, at this point in time, is Saitama. I think it's great. Just good message. Yeah, just amazing. So, also this artwork, just come on now. I love the beautiful color pages. Like, seriously, Murata went completely in with just this chapter of One Punch Man with just this quality artwork back to back. I mean, I just love, once again, just how ominous Saitama is here. He's like, he can finally let loose. And I think that this is a very big deal as well. And he's like, oh well, at least I can let loose at full power against a guy who can stay up. And then he's like, I may have finally gotten what I wished for. And these are very powerful words that I want to take a few moments to talk about, because we know the main objective that Saitama's always had, or wanted, since the story began, was to have a fight. Because, obviously, Saitama as a character, just as a character, he is the strongest. He is a shonen MC at the peak of their series, at the end of their storyline, where they achieved everything, and they are the strongest entity in their verse. Saitama is that type of character, someone that's just so strong that there's just nothing he can do. He can no longer face a challenge and have that brutal fight to the death and all that. He won't have that. And so, when he talks about this, it's very interesting for a few reasons. For one, Saitama is getting that fight. He implies he's finally probably able to get that fight. A fight to where he's fighting. He's fighting at all, like, for 100%, not holding back, going up against his opponent. But at the same time, this is a little bit of a lie, because obviously he's holding Genos within his hand. So the handicap is there. I do want to point that out, is that Saitama, even if he's going all in and being serious, he is holding Genos' core, so he's technically using one arm to really go all in against Garou. So that is food for thought. But anyways, this is saying a lot about Garou as a character, building up Garou as a fight, because for one, for Saitama to even say this just shows how strong Garou is, and Saitama is probably just not gonna have any mercy whatsoever against Garou in the upcoming chapters. But okay, anyways, I think, though, this image is really great. It shows the loneliness of Saitama. For one, like, he's keeping a grip of Genos' core, and you see just the blank canvas, like the whiteness of the moon and all that, of Jupiter, and then you see the dark void of space in the background. I think that's a really good setting as well, to just show that Saitama is alone. He has always been alone, technically, in terms of raw power and strength, but now he is emotionally alone, because his friend that looked up to him is gone in his eyes, and so he's hurt. He's really, really hurt. And I think that this colors really bring out a lot of his character. Murata did a really good job with this. So, I like this scene as well, where he says, bring it all, one hand is all I need. This is a very villainous-like move. And it's like what I've been saying with, this video, is that Saitama in this moment is more like a villain. And him saying, I bring it on, one hand is all I need, is something like you would see from Frieza, or Cell, or something from Dragon Ball Z. Like, if you remember the iconic fight of Goku versus Frieza, Frieza opened up the fight with Goku saying, I will fight you with no hands, and I'll use my legs and my tail. And I think that was a really good showcasing of Frieza's power in Dragon Ball Z. It's a really good moment to show just how arrogant and cocky Frieza was, but also just the overall power difference that Frieza was over Goku at that point in time. And Saitama saying this is, once again, something very similar, a villainous move, but it's not just out of arrogance, it's more of just like about a sheer anger, just to completely disrespect Garou to a whole other level. That's what he's saying. I can protect this while beating the crap out of you with one hand. I think that this is a nice play on that trope. I really like this moment. Now, another thing, too, is I like how Saitama is able to just knock away warp gates like it's nothing. Just completely just moves them away. And it just shows that, once again, Saitama's in a league of his own. I mean, we've already seen the man withstand against black holes and stuff, but just to be able to do that just is on a whole other level. He's literally moving hyperspace gates. How do you even do that? How do you even accomplish something like that? But, yeah, the fight carries on. There's a lot of crazy action sequences like this, just going around. It reminds me a lot of Janemba from Dragon Ball Z, by the way, just this fight here, going through different hyperspace, like, gates, and then just punching someone. It's literally something out of Janemba versus Goku and Vegeta. I love this scene. I've always loved abilities where there's, like, warp gates and a character can speed through them and punch someone and then speed back in. It can make really interesting and entertaining fights. Now, Obviously, as this continues to go on, Saitama is fighting back and forth. There's massive explosions. It's ridiculous. Like, you just see the entirety of this whole moon just experiencing just shockwave after shockwave, and obviously Saitama, he lifts the entire moon, just another feat of strength, and he literally eradicates the entire moon. Like, this scene is just ridiculous in terms of artwork, but also power scaling, one hand flipping an entire planet. That really says a lot, honestly. But just like, yeah, this image really just shows he literally put his hand into the ground and flipped the entire freaking planet into pieces. Like, holy crap, to even be able to do that, just like, to be able to analyze the raw strength of this, like, if someone was to do the data and analyze what type of force and strength you would need to even be able to put your hand into a moon or a planet and flip it, and then straight up turn it into basically space dust, I don't even want to begin to imagine how much power you would need to be able to even do this. That's what needs to be talked about, honestly. I am curious on the videos and people that know a lot more about science and mass and power, etc., that is able to do the statistics on that alone. But, we get to see, Saitama go in for another punch, using the hyperspace gates, coming in after Garou. It's just, like, this scene as well, like, holy crap, like, holy freaking crap. Just the speed blitzing all around, jumping around within the planet. Just, what an incredible freaking chapter. Like, seriously, this is just an amazing chapter. And obviously, it ends here. Like, the chapter ends here. So that's pretty much the end of the chapter, but there's so much that this chapter did. I mean, it brought us new levels of feats for Saitama, feats for Garou. It had a great showcasing of just the level of power Saitama is capable of, and it shows development. It does a spin on a lot of classic tropes of villains and heroes. It showcases Blast as a character and how powerful he is. It's just, this is a really good chapter, and holy crap, I cannot wait 2 weeks from now to be able to see what happens after this, because obviously Garou, he said it himself, he needs to copy Saitama to even be able to win. Like, he just needs to continuously keep copying him and forego everything else to even be able to bring Saitama down. I'm excited to see how this is going to go. But, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that, though. Good chapter. Cannot wait for the next one. If you enjoyed the video and you were entertained or you learned something, etc., please do leave me a like. It helps me out a lot. I would greatly appreciate it. Leave a comment as well. I would love to see your guys' thoughts of the chapter. But with that, guys, be safe, stay healthy. Chibi out.